Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Bold Faith Bible. This morning, I thought we'd take a little bit of time just to chat about my trip to Kenya. I am back now, and as you can, I'm still exhausted from the travel. It's the day after getting back, but I wanted to kind of give you just my impressions and just talk a little bit about some of the things that we did in Kenya. There are a lot of people who go on mission trips, and I have seen a lot, heard a lot, and one of the things that really comes out with when we talk about missions is what is the purpose of what's happening. Doing good is good, but unfortunately a lot of the times when we're doing what makes us feel good, it's not necessarily good for people on the receiving end. And a lot of the things that happen with Westerners going to third world countries, they go in and they cause a lot of problems. And they think that they're helping, they feel like they're helping, and they like getting everyone so excited, but they don't really think through the implications of what they've done. I've gone in after a lot of mission teams into Central America to see churches and church organizations like denominations and such like that, where they don't do evangelism because evangelism is something that the white people from America come down and do. And that's just heartbreaking to see churches and denominations that don't do what they're called to do by God because Americans have messed things up so badly. Now, I'm not saying it's all the Westerners' fault, but this is definitely a reality in places. A lot of places like, we'd like to start a church in this village, but we can't until the Westerners can come down and build a building. And it's like, well, you don't need a Western-built building in order to have a church. You can just start meeting in that building over there. But they've been taught by Westerners that that's not how church works. You go to some places like in Africa and everyone's wearing shirts and ties. Why do they do that? Well, because they were taught by Westerners that's what you need to do. Ironically, even though they're still wearing suits in Kenya, they're not wearing suits over in the United States anymore in churches, and isn't that ironic, right? But we have to be careful about what we're teaching about how we do things. We need to make sure that we're empowering and training those on the receiving end, and we're not just doing everything for them. It's give a man a fish every day, and unfortunately a lot of places in the world, churches and church groups have been giving out fishes, but they have not been training people to fish. And so what we were doing in Kenya was we were training people how to fish. And this is an exciting thing because while there's a lot of training operations happening in Kenya, there's a lot of churches in Kenya. And so there's a lot of pastor training, Bible schools and seminaries happening there. But what there isn't a lot of is people training national pastors on how to train other national pastors. And that's what we were really seeing. So we do these trainings, and honestly, we're kind of helping the nationals do these trainings because while they like to have people from outside the country come in and do these trainings, they are doing them themselves. But to kind of gin up that excitement and everything like that, they like to have some celebrities come in, kind of thing, and it helps them really get the word out to other denominations in the area to come in. And so we do the trainings, but the trainings are basically just teaching them how to study the Bible, just super basic stuff. Basic or more basic than even what we do on this channel on a regular Bible study. And teaching them how to just study the Bible for themselves and to find and dig through the scriptures themselves to find the truths that are there. And just showing them that they can do it and teaching them to work with each other to kind of discover these truths. Have facilitation groups. As opposed to having just one person up front just making stuff up. And when people over there are seeing the facilitation model, a small group model where there's this discussion happening, there's this affirmation, there's this camaraderie, in the Bible study process. It's very exciting for them to see that they can do this for themselves. They don't need someone else to come tell them what to do. They're able to discover what the Bible has to say for themselves. And we do these trainings, and potentially thousands of people have been through these trainings. But to see these people from the trainings go off and start their own groups and teach the material themselves. So we teach them, and then they go out and they start their own groups. I had the privilege of going out to a very rural area where one of the gentlemen, the pastor of the church there, he went to a training. And we were there to graduate the people that he had now trained. So he came back to his area. They had 2 churches for them from their denomination in the area, and so they invited all the other churches from other denominations in the area to be part of the training. And so they were graduating 20 people that had been through the 1-year-long Bible study. So the 1-year-long intensive Bible study and discipleship program through the book of Ephesians, they were graduating from. And the challenge that I was going to bring, and, as part of the process, is that, now that you've been through the program, you need to now train others and take them through the book of Ephesians. But over half the class were already doing that. So we have these 20 people have been trained that weren't even trained by our organization. They weren't trained directly from us or anyone, but someone who went through the training had now trained these 20. And these 20 were now training 50 to 100 people already, and that's even before we charged them to go do this. By the end of it, there's probably going to be hundreds of people coming from this one person that was trained. And that's what we're seeing repeated again and again and again. We're discovering that the material that we've produced has now gone into multiple countries in the surrounding area. I might not want to say exactly which countries at this point, but just amazing when you start empowering and training people and charging them that this is your job. This is your job to disciple other people, and now we're giving you the tools, you can go do that. And that's exactly what they're doing. With this organization, we're already seeing that over, it was, now I can't remember the factor of 10. It's either 10,000 or 100,000 pastors have now been through the program. I believe it's 10,000. 10,000 pastors have now been through the program, being trained, and they've accepted the call that they are to train other leaders to train other leaders. And so we're seeing all these rural pastors who have very little Bible knowledge, they have very little Bible training, are now getting discipled by others, and they're being connected to others, whereas they were isolated before. We're seeing people getting connected so they have the support network they need. So if they have a question about doctrine or they have a question about the Bible, they now have people to ask. And connecting them with those groups of people that are like-minded has been just a game changer in a lot of these areas. We're seeing churches being revived. We're seeing churches just upping their evangelism out to other areas and to the surrounding communities. Just a lot of excitement. At the graduation we were at, they were so excited because a bunch of people in their community were asking, why are there white people here? What are you doing at your church that's so exciting that white people are coming from way out over somewhere else? And they're like, we're going to have dozens and dozens of conversations with people about why there were white people here, and we get to share the gospel with every single one of them. That's what they're saying to us. And it's like, hey, if you want to use us as people, I always call us the dancing monkeys. That's my professional evangelism term for whatever you use to draw a crowd of people, the entertainment that people will stop and look at so you can then preach the gospel to them. And that's what we basically are, is just the funny foreigners that are coming in, and everyone's like, why are there foreigners here? And they get to then listen to the gospel, and it's just an amazing process. So this organization is great. We're talking about expanding to some other countries. I don't have all that much experience in Africa. This is my first real time in East Africa. I've been in South Africa a little bit, but that was mostly just in Cape Town, and it's very Western and very much like Europe there. But just experiencing some of what's going on in Kenya and some of the exciting things that are happening. This program is already expanding past Kenyan borders to other countries in the surrounding area, and we're talking about it's already down in South America now, and we're talking about expanding potentially to Asia. Over this channel, can't talk about exactly some of the places that are being looked at right now for legal reasons and stuff like that, but it's just when you start getting back to biblical discipleship of people training other people, people supporting other people in their spiritual growth and spiritual life, we get back to the heart of what Jesus said. He said, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey all that I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even until the end of the age. That's the Great Commission by Jesus. Go make disciples. And that's what I really loved about this organization that we're working with, 21C. And that is for the 21st century, this new way of doing old things, doing very basic things like discipleship, but using technology such as Facebook and these other tools at our disposal. And now some funny YouTuber is now helping out because that's the way the world is nowadays, is that we have these new tools, we have these new ways of doing things, new ways of doing the old things, which is person on person, people caring about each other and sharing the good news of Jesus with each other, and connecting rural pastors with other rural pastors using horrible tools as like Facebook, right? And yet that's exactly what's happening. People are eager to connect with other people. And when you can connect them to local pastors in their area, they start meeting together, they start sharing experiences, they start sharing difficulties, and they start assisting and helping each other to grow in their spiritual walks. And the fruit has been amazing so far, and we're just seeing things ramp up now significantly. A few more trainers. It looks like I will be, at least temporarily, coming on board as one of those trainers. So I will be traveling 3 to 4 times a year over to Africa at this point, and potentially Asia in the future, or wherever I'm needed, to just teach people how to do discipleship and just empower them to do what God has called them to do. So that's kind of a bit of the report about what we were doing. Got to do 2 training sessions. One was in a slum area in Nairobi for 2 days, and then we did a 2-day training outside of a city called Eldoret in western Kenya, and then I got to travel south of there to a very rural area, a very poor, impoverished area that didn't have any cities nearby, for a district to do a graduation ceremony there to encourage them. And it was very important to them, so we're there to serve the national churches, the denominations that we're partnered with, local denominations. We're not the bosses coming in telling them what to do. We're coming in and doing what they ask us to do. And they said, could you come down here and supervise a graduation? So I had to do a commencement address and commissioning and figure out how to do that. But they were super excited. It was very meaningful to them, and they're very excited about bringing more and more people through the training process of small groups and learning how to study the Bible. So that was just such a privilege to be a part of, and just to see what God's doing through these amazing people. And it was very humbling to be there, and just all the while going, I'm not doing anything special here, but God is doing something special here. And to be allowed to kind of see what God was doing through those churches and through the people there. All right, folks, thanks so much for watching. Please do be praying for the people of Kenya as well as the people of Africa. These thousands of pastors who are just doing tremendous evangelism, planting churches, people with no Bible school experience planting churches and becoming pastors, and just trying to figure out how to minister to their people. All right, folks, if you have some time, you want to check out some other Bible studies, there's a couple right up here on the screen. And tomorrow we will jump back into, tomorrow is Saturday, isn't it? But we will be getting back into the Bible studies, and tomorrow is Friday. We will have a Bible study tomorrow. Sorry about that. And I will see you guys then. God bless you all.